Hello everyone, my name is Asam Malik. I am representing the Philadelphia Youth Poetry Movement. I'd like to dedicate this poem to the women. It also is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so domestic violence oftentimes can lead to homelessness. So I'd like to talk about that aspect. She's precious, like a ring or a necklace from your grandmother whose death wish was for you to wear it at your wedding. She's golden, like a glass of apple juice that King Midas was holding. She told him when she got older that the worst thing he ever could have did was break a promise, because in her little eyes, he was a man who was honest. Promises, 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 and none of them kept. He promised he'd never leave her. And when he left, he promised he'd come and see her. He said, baby, I know me and your mom are going through some things right now, and I know I don't got a job, but I promise when I get one, I'll buy you the prettiest ponies and all of the diamond rings. More promises, promises, promises. And none of them kept. So she wept for what seemed like forever in a lifetime, but actually spanned out to be just one nighttime. And that night, she longed just for a glimpse of the sight of the armor from her shining knight who would ride through and make everything right. Right. But for that night, she'd wait up all night until the light from the next promise-filled day would peek its head through a window, and she'd hear him say more promises, promises. And she swore her and her friends must live in completely different worlds, because they'd all brag and boast about being daddy's little girl, and how their fathers were so cool, and how their papas were coming to pick them up after school, and she'd see them run and jump into their arms, pick them up, spin them around the twirl, because hey, they're daddy's little girl. Matter of fact, I think her father was supposed to come and pick her up too, but he must have just forgot, found something else more important to do. Either way, that promises fell through and landed with the rest of the baby, I'll be there, and this time I got you. It was more promises, promises. And none of them kept. So after her father left, it was just her mom, and her little sister. Her little sister was too young to even remember how it was when he used to kiss her. And now little sister's got a new guy in the house, so she's got to call Mr., but who she just calls Dwayne, because she can't bring herself to addressing a man by Mr. and his last name when he was just dropping us freshman in the college when she turned 14. Now mom's new boyfriend's walking around the house in boxes, socks, and flip-flops and whatnot. And she never really liked him at first glance, but after arguments with mom talking about everybody deserves a first chance, she said whatever and let it go. Even though he's worthless, he lays around the house, he serves no purpose, ain't got a job, but it's spent $50 on games for $360. Can't remember her or her sister's name. It says, damn, she came into a frame. And of course, mom's completely oblivious to the fact that this guy's just a bum and adding more weight to the already heavy load in the back, but still, she defends this guy. And it comes to no surprise, he decides to repair with smacks, bruises, and black eyes. And the girl sees this and thinks this must be typical of black guys. She asks her mom why. Why does she stay? And her mom explains, well, he isn't always this way. Plus, he promises to change. More promises, promises. Man, that woman must be deranged who thinks that man's going to change. It must be something screwed up in the brain that's just not screwed in tight enough. Either way, something's out of order. And it's so sad when you see bad choices perpetuate from mother to daughter, because now the girls find herself caught up in a similar situation that her mother was facing, having relations with another man who thinks there's alright knots on girls' heads. So unless she enjoys the broken noses and blood she gets to swallow, she needs to take a step back. Look down the road she chose to follow and see the storm in the distance, because remember, her little sister still needs a role model who's consistent. So she turned her back on all those promises, because wasn't none of them kept. And along her journey, she ran into a nice young man who seemed to have his goals set up in a nice little plan. So she opened up to him and told him about previous guys, and he looked her dead in the eyes and said, baby, I would never do anything to hurt you. And I promise. And she said, cut him off before he was through. She said, please, for me, don't promise, just do. Thank you.